Yes or no answer. Do we win the Premier League this season? He's off. He's gone.
Let me disappear.
Hello there, guys. It's Matt here from SW6 Lions TV. I hope you are all well on transfer deadline day. Just a quick video. We have a very special guest in here tonight. We've got Dami. How are you, mate?
Hey, I'm here live in the flesh. You know, I'm coming from. Thank you for having me on the channel. You know, I'm saying it's been a few weeks. Been a few weeks coming, but obviously transfer window deadline day needs to be the day we decide to choose. So I'm here, ready, and thank you for having me on. Yeah,
no problem, mate. It's exciting times, exciting day. Not just for Chelsea, but for football in general. I think transfer deadline day is always a pretty exciting one. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Obviously, with the transfer window being almost shut, what do you make of Chelsea's transfer window so far?
Honestly, mate, if I'm keeping it 100%, a lot of people on Twitter, Instagram are like, Chelsea messed up, no Kounde, this and that. Stop it, you ungrateful little children. Stop it. We have done. Do you know what I mean? We have done exactly what we needed to do. What was the thing? When Tuchel spoke in every press conference, what was the conversation about? Striker, midfielder. Because we didn't get Kounde, it doesn't mean that the whole transfer window was a failure. We couldn't get Haaland, who everybody considered to be the priority, but we're not spending over 250 million or almost 300 million on someone that has not even been proven yet. Obviously, he has potential to become one of the best strikers we've ever seen, but it's not even set in stone. Do you know where I'm coming from? So that was never going to happen. We went for the next best thing. Big Rom, obviously tore it up in Italy. This guy was clashing heads with Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Fully. So literally, you know that this guy was about his thing. So we got the striker sorted. And literally, as we record this about an hour or so ago, Saul is confirmed. Maybe not the profile we wanted. Maybe it was not Declan Rice. Maybe it's not Tchouaméni. But he is a good midfielder, despite the last 18 months being a bit rough. So I can't complain, mate. It's like an 8 out of 10 window for me. Like, we've got what we needed. And it's not like this squad was ever bad in the first place. It's a good squad. So, like, I'm not even complaining, man. I think it's been quite a solid window.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. Considering we won the Champions League with the squad we had, I don't really think you needed to add much to that, to be honest. I think it was clear last season we needed that big number 9, the guy that can put it in the back of the net in the 18-yard box. We got that, and I think anything on top of that was probably a bonus, really. And I don't know what Saul brings, but I think he can bring something different to that midfield for sure, yeah.
He definitely brings you like a different foot as well. You know what I'm saying? He's left-footed midfielder. He's a bit dynamic as well. Sometimes he can play in the wing-back position like he did at Atletico. He's very technical. He's very technical. And obviously, we all know Simeone's defensive, low block, terrible. He's got that in him as well, so he can do a bit of defending. So like, I think it's quite a solid midfield, especially with Tuchel's crafty work. So I'm interested to see how that one pans out.
Yeah, I think it adds a bit of depth as well. I think we've got serious numbers in that midfield now, and across the whole pitch, I think we've just got a lot of options everywhere, and it's really good to see. Obviously, I heard you mention Kounde there. Just a quick question about him. Do you think we should be worried that we didn't get that deal over the line, or do you think we've already got enough options in that back line to not really be worried about it?
I think it's just one of those it is what it is situations. Like, unfortunately, I feel like we could have done this a bit better. I think what messed this up, and this is just based off my thinking, it's not from any sources or anywhere. I feel like we've done this in the past where we want to sign someone, okay, and we sort of delay other outgoings and stuff like that so that everything happens and then the news is announced. Kind of like when we signed Havertz, I forgot who went to Leverkusen. I can't remember how the triangle sort of went, but before we got him signed and everything, they told us to be silent about it. They sorted out their signing, boom, everything got announced. They announced Zuma before we had a written formal agreement with Sevilla. I think that's where the problem came into it. But I'm not really going to complain, mate. And you want to know why? Because as much as people, because I'm not going to act like I've been watching Trevor Chalobah for the longest of time. I watched those 2 games he played for Chelsea this season and the few minutes he had against, was it Arsenal, Liverpool, I think. And then apart from that, I went back and watched a few of his other games forget the name of the team he played for. But I went back and watched some of those minutes as well. Quite solid, you know, I'm coming from. And I'm looking forward to see Tuchel clearly rates him quite highly as well. So he's obviously like a backup. Maybe he's not the Kounde that everybody wanted, but it's not. We've got like 7 people that can play centre-back. You've got Rudiger, you've got Thiago Silva, you've got Christensen, Aski can play as a centre-back, Reece James can play as a centre-back. Trevor can play as a centre-back. I mean, Ampudo has now gone out. So, yeah, that makes him more or less sick. That's enough depth for me. That's like a replacement for each and every single one of the positions in the back line. So, it's not really a problem. So, I think I get why Chelsea fans are frustrated, but Chelsea have an identity. And that identity is, in the transfer window, we reduced the fees for other people. We did it with Ben Chong, we thought it was impossible. We did it with Havertz, we did it with Ziyech, we did it with Werner. We've done it for so many years. Kounde shouldn't be the exception. We can get him next summer. I understand the logic behind it, but I'm not really complaining about it at all.
Do you think the depth of defenders? Do you think the likes of Chalobah, you've got Malang Sarr, who's still actually at the club as well. Do you think these players, if we were to get injuries in our back line, do you think they would be good enough to come into that back line and play against your Man Cities, Man Uniteds, Liverpools, like in the big teams? Do you think these guys could step in and do a job against those big boys?
I mean, as long as Chalobah can sort of keep the level that he maintain, if he can maintain that level that he has, obviously he's a younger player, he might have some skips here and I mean, he's 22, like Mason's age, but even with Mason, sometimes he has some games where he's not really perfect. But I feel like Chalobah, especially with how highly Tuchel rates him, he can definitely step into the fold if like someone gets injured in that back line. He's someone that we are looking and hoping we can rely on based on what we've seen so far. I know it's not the biggest sample size, but I definitely would trust him to get there. Sarr, I mean, he didn't have the best loan spell. I can't lie to you, mate. He didn't have the best loan spell. So I'm really hoping we'll have to get that far, but then we'll just have to see our finger. But we do have people that can step in if need be. And Chalobah is one of those individuals.
Yeah. Do you think if we had signed Kounde, do you think he would have gone straight into the starting 11? Or do you think he would have been more of a bench kind of squad player? Because it's hard to kind of work out who he actually would have taken out of that back line, especially the way they're playing at the minute. You wouldn't really take out Rudiger. Christensen's playing brilliantly. Azpilicueta's the captain. Do you know what I mean? Do you think he would have come into that starting 11, or he's kind of coming on off the bench?
I don't think that was what was going to happen ever. I felt like he was coming in as a player to sort of be here for next season, because we've got 4 centre backs whose contract run out by the end of the season. You've got Rudiger, Christensen, Thiago Silva, and Azpilicueta. I feel like at least 2 of those will be leaving. Thiago Silva, because I feel like if Chelsea win another UCL or a Premier League, I feel like he'd probably be like, hey, yo, I need to hang up my boots. I'm done. He's like 38. Do you know what I'm saying? 38, 39. Yeah. He's expected to sort of retire. Rudiger, I'm hearing that he might not really want to renew his contract. So let's see as that sort of unfolds. Things can obviously change in the next 12 months because obviously Chelsea fans, media, I don't know. He could probably want to move on. He's been at Chelsea for quite a few years. So that's another thing. Aspi, we never know. He might still be here, Chelsea's club captain, but he might choose to retire as well. He might choose to go back to Spain and be like, hey, I'm going to hang my boots in Spain. There are so many things that can go down. Maybe only Christensen was reported to be slightly unhappy with the Kounde stuff. So, but to answer a question directly, no, I wasn't really expecting him to sort of come in and start playing because it's not like I think Chelsea are stacked in terms of the starting 11. Every single one of our players in our starting 11 are fully ready and proper enough to start in the team. Just that we needed some depth. And Kounde was a class player for Sevilla last season. He's young enough where we can replace the likes of Gerhi and Tomori in and around the same age bracket, so it would have made sense. And he also had the experience to sort of step into the fold, assuming things went to crap with maybe like Thiago Silva getting an injury or a knock or something. So I never really expected him to sort of start moving into the season, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Do you think you could justify us spending sort of 60, 70, 80 million pounds on a squad player?
Nah, I mean, it's more of it was a longer term investment. Do you know what I mean? I felt like it would have been longer term, but that's why I'm not really upset because you know some people they just came on and were like, why don't we just add 15 million? No, you don't do that. Like you don't do that. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like obviously he's quite good, but then some people couldn't apply this energy for Declan Rice. You see where we're going with this? Like when I was talking like this for Rice, I was like, hey, yo, Rice for me would have been like 55, 50. And then with Kounde, I was fine with the amount, maybe 50 or 55, because let go of tomorrow for 20 M's. You let go of Gerhi for 20 M's as well, you know, coming from. So you've got quite a bit of that money back. But then going about like 65, 70 on Kounde, that's like Kai Havertz money. Like, you don't just do that. It's true. Do you know what I mean? That's Havertz money. That's what people are forgetting. That's near Lukaku money. Like, you don't just bow down to Sevilla's demands on the very like, nah, it don't work that way. So I don't feel like it was ever a justifiable price. When this window ends and people have had a few weeks to watch this Chelsea team and they start playing well, they'll be like, hey, yo, I think Kounde was actually quite expensive. We'll just watch and see. I know that's what's going to happen because it was too expensive. It was just never going to happen.
Yeah. No, I can. What I can see us doing is if we need that cover, I can see us going back in January to get him back. But moving on anyway. Talking quickly about Saul in midfield. What do you think he brings? Do you think he goes straight into the starting 11, or can you not really drop Kante and Jorginho? Does he kind of come in as a squad rotation player? So what do you kind of think about that one?
Saul is a player looking for redemption. That's what he is. He is a player that's coming into this Chelsea team knowing that he's going to be on the bench. Like I keep telling people, the only reason why we needed a midfielder was to have that assurance in terms of numbers and maturity and experience. That's what Saul brings. He's 26-year-old, going to be turning 27 very shortly. He's quite technical on the ball, like I said. Obviously, he's not a Jorginho replacement. It's not a Kante replacement. If anything, he's a bit like Kovacic in terms of progressing the ball. Not as technical, but he does it differently, but still a ball progressor. But my thing is, with Saul, I'm not expecting him to displace that midfield in any way, shape, or form. Jorginho and Kante, that's the starting midfield, as long as they're both fit. And like I keep telling people, after the international break, they might not get injured again, and you might not even see Saul. Obviously, I'm expecting Tuchel to change things up depending on how the game sort of unfolds, but Saul was never really someone that's coming in to start for me. Like, I feel like this transfer into the only person that was guaranteed starting was our striker. That was the only person I was like, hey, yo, we need a new starting striker. We didn't need any other starting positions. We just need backups, and that's what Saul is, a backup seeking redemption. Yeah. So I'm happy with the fact that he's come on loan as well. So I think that was my perception of it. I don't know if yours is any different.
Do you think a La Liga title winner wants to come to a club and be a sort of backup midfielder, or I'm sure he'll probably want to be coming thinking that he's going to get game time and get an opportunity. I think it's hard to justify taking Kante or Jorginho out of the midfield. Obviously, Kante's one of the best in the world at what he does, if not the best. Jorginho's just won UEFA Player of the Year. But I think, do you think a La Liga winner should be coming in as a squad rotation player?
I mean, the thing is, like, he was on bench for last season. He's been for the last 18 months, he's not been good. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is the equivalent of him going to rehab. He needs to get that reinjection into his career. Like, Chelsea are obviously willing to give him that sort of thing. And we need a backup. He needs a new environment to sort of get himself back. So I fully understand like why Chelsea would go for, and like I can promise you, like in that, I mean, obviously I don't go for these like transfer talks or anything, and I'm not really going to say that I know exactly what's popping, but I can almost guarantee you that the contract talks or something like this. Hey, listen, we see what's happening at Atletico. The manager likes you, but don't expect to come in here and start about 40, 50 games because it's not going to happen. And in his head, it's probably like, all right, fine. Because we all need to remember that we are the UCL champions. That is a massive, massive tag. You know, that is a massive, massive tag to have on our head top. So I feel like at the end of the day, like he definitely is signing this knowing that he will be on the bench at some point. But then again, he could also be starting. It all depends on the injuries. So, but he definitely 100% knows bench is his thing this season. That's what it has to be. Despite the fact that he's obviously won the La Liga Atletico. Yeah.
No, fair enough. That's a fair point. So next question then. Based on the current transfer window, obviously it's now pretty much done. I can't see any more deals coming in at Chelsea. What would you deem as a Chelsea fan? What would be an unsuccessful season for you? Now obviously we've got our players that have come in and gone out. What would you see as an unsuccessful season at Chelsea this year?
Put me on the spot, mate. Matt, you put me on the spot. Unsuccessful season. You know what it is like? I'm not going to change up what I was saying before. I felt like even with just Lukaku, this squad is capable. I mean, we won the UCL last year. They won the UCL. That's the best. That's the biggest trophy in club football you can win. This squad, right? Obviously, they've not really played together for too long. It's been about a season and there's been a change of management. So now that Tuchel has had a bit of a pre-season with them and things are starting to progress quite nicely, I would really like us to win a trophy with big ears. Do you know what I mean? An FA Cup, yeah, that's all well and nice. Super Cup, obviously, that's good. FIFA World Cup, or whatever that trophy's called, that's also good as well. But a UCL or a Premier League title, a big trophy, is what my eyes are sort of set on. Would I consider this to be a failure if we don't get one of those? That is hard because obviously, see what Man United are doing. They've patterned Ronaldo, they got Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane. That's a solid window right there. Do you know what I mean? That's an extremely solid window. City, obviously, they didn't get a striker. They got Jack Grealish, which I don't think was a needed thing, but they are still the people we are trying to beat. Do you know where I'm coming from? Liverpool, as much as they only got Kounde, they are still a squad to be reckoned with. So it would be interesting. And with the Champions League, I feel like PSG will bottle it. I don't think PSG are going to win it, but Messi, freaking, like, see that front three, bro. Messi, Ronaldo, no, what am I saying? Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, like, it's going to be quite difficult. So I don't want to be too unrealistic, but for me, I'm really hoping that we do secure one of the Premier League or the Champions League this season, alongside other trophies here. And then we've obviously already got the Super Cup, so it's just going to be interesting to see how things sort of unfold. But what is yours? I'm curious to hear what you have to say, because it's a bit of a hard one, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You put me on the spot there still.
I think unsuccessful for me would be trophyless, to be honest. I think if we were to not finish in the top four, it would be a disaster. But yeah, I think unsuccessful, you would have to say not in a title race and not going deep into the Champions League again. But do you think if we were to finish outside of the top four and not win a trophy, do you think we sack Tuchel?
I wouldn't be shocked. We've been supporting this club for decades. I mean, years now, bro. I wouldn't be surprised if he got sacked. I would be surprised if he stayed, because people might come and say that they didn't back him exactly like I wanted. He got quite a lot of support. He got a £100 million striker, and he got a midfielder. Now, are they everything that he wanted? Not necessarily, but I keep telling people wants and needs, two different things. And now I know it sounds like I'm referencing Drake's song, but I promise you I'm not. Wants and needs, there's a difference. You know, I'm coming from. So let's just let as it is. He needed a striker and he needed a midfielder. Everything else was a want. Everything else was just a want. And I feel like you back a manager who just won the UCL, but I think he has everything in his power to stop four should even be part of the conversation. That should be done and dusted right from now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want us to be like, hey, are we going to make top four? Nah. That should be for the conversation. If anything, it's about the trophy. So let's see how it sort of unfolds, to be fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It should be a good, interesting season to sort of see how it all pans out. Another interesting question. Now, I think this is a question that's on most people's minds. It's certainly a good question, I think, personally. It's about the current players that we had, obviously, that we brought in last summer. So if you were to picture it, right, and Chelsea are playing Aston Villa in 11 days. Say, for example, Timo Werner starts, or he comes off the bench and he grabs a goal or two, and Timo Werner starts playing well consistently. Who do you take out of the team, Kai Havertz or Mason Mount, in that front three for Timo Werner? If he starts obviously picking up form and scoring goals, who comes in? Who comes out? Sorry,
these are my two favorite players. You know what it is, right? If I'm looking at this from it depends. I think our formation heavily determines how this unfolds and who is playing in midfield as well. Do you know what I mean? Mason Mount. A lot of people see Mason and feel like, hey, Mason doesn't really have a lot of end product in front and this and that. But he's the reason why we do not get overrun in midfield. He has the legs to form like a midfield three and be part of an attack. He has the energy to do that as well. His counter press is also quite supreme. So for me, from a tactical perspective, as long as we stick with the 3-4-3, I feel like Havertz should be the one that does some sitting. But then again, if Havertz is the one supplying Werner and Lukaku and getting in behind the lines and getting all the goals, then you sort of have to reconsider, like, how are we going to go about this? You know what I'm saying? Like, it all really depends. At the end of the day, Mason Mount's job is to score goals and get all those chances created and get assists and all. He's meant to be involved up front in the final third where the goals are being done. I'm not sure, but his importance is definitely the thing. So I feel like it would also heavily depend on who we're going up against. Do you know what I mean? If you're going up against, like, an Aston Villa or whatever, you're going to have the ball for most of the match, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, so he does, like, Mason Mount, are you really good? If you're going to, assume you're playing Werner and Lukaku, that is, because I feel like Mount, Havertz and Lukaku are starting from free this season. That's what I feel like is going to be the common trend. But if you're going up against an Aston Villa and you're thinking of playing Werner and Lukaku, Havertz makes sense because as much as Mason Mount can do, he does have his traits. You know what I'm saying? He's very good on the ball. He makes those late runs into the box. I feel like as he progresses in his career, he's going to get those Lampard type goals as he progresses. You know what I'm saying? But Havertz definitely brings you quite a bit more because Havertz is a lot more creative in the sense that he does find a way to get in between those little pockets of space, and he can bring out like that amazing pass out of nowhere as well. Not like I'm saying Mason is incapable, but Havertz definitely is the guy to go for those type of situations. So I really feel like it heavily depends on those two important factors: what formation we play and who we're going up against. So to be curious, I'll be curious to see how they unfold. But what do you think? I'm kind of curious because you're giving me some questions. I feel like you can't really dodge them yourself. You have to give me what you think because I'm not really sure. Do you know what I mean?
I'm quite surprised that you would drop out Mason Mount. To be fair, I actually disagree with that one. To be honest,
drop out Mount. No, that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like Mount would. That's what that was my overall. My point was like, if you had to play the two of them in that, like, okay, if we're going up against a big team, Man City or whatever, if you were going up against Man City, for example, and you wanted to play Timo Werner and Lukaku, I'm going for Mount. Do you get my point? So that's why I made reference to the midfield situation because he covers so much ground and he makes he allows you to not be overrunning midfield. That's what Havertz doesn't provide. But if you're going up against like a smaller side, then again, I wouldn't even see Werner starting against the low block team. Do you know what I mean? So like, it really heavily depends. But if I had to just choose one for the rest of the season, I have to be Mason Mount because it allows you more flexibility in the middle of the pitch. You know what I mean? So I was a bit confused in there, but that was basically my point. To be fair.
I think for me it's more, there's more to it for Mount. I think he's had so much consistency for 2 seasons. I don't think I've ever watched him put a performance in that's been any less than a 7, 8 out of 10. He's always been so consistent, and I think he gets a lot of stick for not being that creative player and whatever else. I actually think you look at last season. I know Havertz was coming into the new league. He's got to adapt. He's got to adjust to a new league. But I think you look at the consistency of Mason Mount. I think currently at this point, there isn't a way that you can justify dropping Mason Mount out of that starting 11 purely for the fact of that consistency and the performances he puts in. And I think even when we're playing badly, he always seems to be that guy that sort of carries us and pushes us a bit further forward. And I think especially with Lukaku, I think Mason Mount put a lot of good balls, good passes, good crosses into the box last season that didn't get finished off, which is why he didn't get so many goals and assists as he could have done. I think when you've got a striker like Lukaku in there, I think you're gonna see a big change in Mason Mount. I think he's gonna get a lot more stats going his way. But what if Lukaku plays bad? Who you bringing in for? Would you playing Werner through the middle if Lukaku struggles? Will Lukaku struggle?
I pray he doesn't. I pray he doesn't. I don't even want to know how that's going to pan out because Werner is such a different striker to Lukaku. Because one thing I keep telling people is like, even if Lukaku doesn't score like a ridiculous number of goals, if the output of the players around him goes up, then he's done his job. Do you know what I mean? Notice how the players sort of changed up their movement as Lukaku sort of like, there's confidence that there's somebody up there that can hold up the ball and will be in position. I use his first goal against Arsenal as a perfect example. This guy was about 30 or so yards away from the 6-yard box, okay? He's here bullying 2 or 3 defenders off the ball. As soon as he does that, he shows his strength right there and then. He passes the ball off. I can't remember who he passed it off to. I think it was Reece James immediately. I can't remember who it was, but he basically passed off the ball. Next thing you know, he's turned his back. He's facing goal now, running at the goal, and he's left the other defenders beat for pace. And he was the one in front of all the other players, and he gets in there. So what has he done is he's given Reece James an assist there because of his intelligent play. So I feel like Lukaku, him messing up this year, highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Even against Liverpool, I know people felt like he wasn't really performing that well. We had to sit back. He didn't have a lot of service up front, and there were not a lot of players being committed forward. Like he's not a witch. Do you know what I mean? This is not Harry Potter and whatever. There's 9 spells of whatever the hell. The guy he's not a wizard. Do you know what I'm saying? So he can only do so much. If you give him enough of the ball, and then the people around him, he will provide. But I'm just thinking, assuming he does end up playing bad, Havertz false nine? Havertz false nine, maybe like, I don't know, because like Werner, maybe you could see Havertz, Werner, Mount or whatever. It would be interesting to sort of see, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. It's quite difficult. This is why I tell people, like, this is where Tuchel gets paid millions of pounds for. That's his problem. I'm just trying to watch the games. You know what I mean? So like, it'd be interesting to
he's got a good headache to have, let's put it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So but I do feel like his tactics and the opposition we go up against will definitely heavily influence who he starts, though. So
yeah, no, that's fair enough. We've had a bit of your time. Just one last quick question. Yes or no answer? Do Chelsea win the Premier League? Yes or no answer? Do we win the Premier League this season? He's off. He's gone.
Let me disappear. We just win the Premier League. Or it'd be criminal to not back my club. I think it'd be criminal to not back my club. I think we can. We definitely can. If we stay consistent. I know it's like this is a political answer. This is a politician style answer. I can't give you a solution.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we stay consistent, you know what I'm saying? If we don't get too many injuries, I feel like we 100% can. There's nothing that stops us from doing that. City can be good, but they're lacking an attacker. Liverpool can be good, but they don't really have the depth. I mean, and Manchester United might be stacked, but they have Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so that's always going to be Ole tax. HMRC aren't claiming that. Nobody's claiming that one still anytime soon. So for me, I back my club to win the Premier League. So I give you a political yes.
Yeah, it was a long-winded yes, but it was a yes.
Yes,
I do. Whether we do or not is a different story, but I do think we have the squad and the manager to do it. So yes, my answer to that one is a yes. But yeah, anyway,
well.
thank you for coming on, mate. It's been good talking to you. Good to get your opinion. If we just quickly ask you, where can we find you, your socials? Where can we find your Twitter and YouTube and whatever else?
Well, it's just the Grand Dam on every social media platform. So that's just all it is. Do you know
the Grand Dam, yeah. So